Welcome back to my channel, guys. I've noticed over the last maybe 6 months to a year, more and more comments from viewers on my channel expressing frustration, discomfort even towards the trans community always being lumped in with the gay community. And there's this desire that I'm noticing more and more through the comments on videos on my channel, wanting to differentiate and separate, I would even say, from the trans community. On a logical level, I can understand this desire because it is a totally different identity and experience, right? Even though historically the two have always been kind of lumped together, especially politically, now there's enough, I guess, literature, we can say, and studies on all of this, which indicate that being trans is about gender, being gay is about sexuality. So logically speaking, these are two very different things. But then on the other hand, right, some of these comments, I can't help but feel that the frustration comes from, or this desire to sort of part ways comes from a bit of maybe animosity towards trans people and the trans community. And I feel like there's a lot of, this is just my hunch from the, again, comments that have been appearing on my channel. I can't help but feel that a lot of gay men now sort of feel like a snootiness towards trans people of like, I don't want to be associated. They have their own thing going. I can't relate to that experience. You know, I'm worried about me and my rights. So I see both sides. Like it's not something that I'm frustrated about, but I can understand that there are gay people who feel like a lot of strides have been made, and at this point they just don't even relate or connect to the trans people and the trans community. And I will say a lot of the media hoopla that you see around trans people is reminiscent of the hoopla that we used to see about gay people and gay men in particular, right? The comic relief of society, the court jester of society, the token sort of outrageous character. And I feel like gay people have come a long way in diversifying the image of gay people. And yet the imagery of trans people continues to be, I would say, very stereotypical and not a positive or well-rounded image, generally speaking, in media. So I think some of that resentment, I'm assuming, comes from, again, this snootiness of like, I don't want to be associated because it doesn't make gay people look good. Even though, quite frankly, I've ever been to a pride parade, you know, I think there's still a lot of representations of gay people that are very one-dimensional. If you're one of the people who's commented on my channel expressing this frustration at the T in LGBT being lumped with the rest of LGB, I guess, please share your thoughts. I'm very curious to hear more, and I want to know what everybody else thinks as well about this. Is this something that you even think about? Do you feel like at this point in the modern era that this acronym is way too long anyway, and that there's a lot of communities being lumped together that shouldn't necessarily be lumped together? Or are you of the mindset that there's strength in numbers and that all of these are marginalized communities and there are parallels between these experiences? I mean, quite frankly, a lot of the stereotypes of gay men are similar to the stereotypes of trans people, trans women in particular, right? This idea of you're not fulfilling the status quo of masculinity or your gender role. I think it's kind of a complicated conversation, and I don't think it's black and white either. I think it's more about perspective than anything. I think if you are willing to, you will see parallels between the trans experience and the gay experience. And I think if you come into it with a resentment or an animosity or this idea that the trans experience is a very foreign thing, then you're going to only see the differences between these groups of people and want to keep them separate. But I find this to be a fascinating conversation that we're now at this point where gay people have come so far, at least in American society, when we talk about acceptance, that now we see this angle of like gay people finding power in certain circles and wanting to hold on to that power, which inherently means other groups not having that same power. It's like the concept of the gay Republican. To a lot of people, that sounds like an oxymoron, but there are gay men who have reached a position in these circles of white male privilege that I think now that they're there, they want to make sure they hold on to that power, if nothing else for the sake of gay people's representation, right? In politics, in media, in education, in finance. Okay, now I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but very curious to hear what you guys have to say. Please let me know in the comments.